Alright guys, welcome to Honors Math class for today. Hopefully I got the notes here to start from page 10. I'd like you to try first the entrance task, which is page 9. I posted the answers to that already in the stream of the Google Classroom. So if you saw that already, you may have already done it. But go ahead and pause the video and try those. I also already posted the answers for page 7 and 8. So go ahead and do that. Here are those answers from page 9, the entrance task. So here's the answers here. Notice I'm just finding m and b and then plugging it into our main equation, the main equation we've been using for the last couple of days now. That main equation is y equals mx plus b. So if I'm able to find m and I'm able to find b, then I can just plug in for m and b in the equation y equals mx plus b, and then I now have my equation. So there's all those answers from the entrance task on page 9. Looking at the notes on page 10 today, what we're going to shift gears to is now being able to, instead of given a graph, just given a table of values, and being able to find the equation of a line given a table. Now certainly one of the options you could do if you had graph paper is you could take each one of these coordinates, x comma y, and plot all these points on the graph, and then from your graph we already learned how to get an equation from a graph, so you could do that. But wouldn't it be nice if there was a shortcut? And basically that shortcut is using this formula that m is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That was a formula I introduced yesterday. And you can select any 2 points from your table. I picked these points simply because they were both positive numbers. I didn't want to deal with any negatives, so I just picked these 2. You can pick this one and that one. You can pick this one and that one. It doesn't matter which one it are. But once you pick one point to be your first point, you have to use this as your x sub 1 and your y sub 1. And whatever one you call your second point has to be x sub 2, y sub 2. Just that, the first x point and the first y point and the second x point and y point. Alright, so you can see how I plugged it in using those 2 points. And I was able to get m is equal to 3 over 1, or just 3. And then b, the b value, is usually pretty easy to find for the most part, especially for examples 1 and 2 here. Since you know that b is on the y-axis, if there's a 0 in the x column, that means you're going over 0. Well, if you go over 0, guess what? You're on the y-axis. So this is telling me when the x is 0 here, that on the y-axis it's going through y at the point positive 1. Therefore, like if you plotted that point, it would be on the y-axis. So therefore my y-intercept, my b value is 1. So m is 3, b is 1, boom, there's my equation, y equals 3x plus 1. Okay? I have the notes here for you to try the second one. Same idea here. You can pick any one you want. If I called this my first point and that my second point, then my second y is 1. Minus my first y is 2, so 1 minus 2 gives me my negative 1 right there. And same thing with my second x minus my first x, I get positive 2, so that's a negative 1/2. And I do have a 0 in the x column, so I'd say b is 3 right there. I got my b value, my equation is y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. And then finally, this is a harder one. What if you don't have a 0 in the x column of your table, like this example? Well, if that's the case, then you can still find m. Like I do here, I get m is 1/3. Okay. And then what you're going to do is use the formula, and the only thing you know is m. So it's y equals mx plus b, but I plugged in the 1/3 for m. And then use a point, a known x and y in your table. You could pick any point you want. I just picked this last one. And I plugged the 14 in for x. And I plugged the 9 in for y. And then I used good old-fashioned algebra to solve for b. So 1/3 times 14 is 14/3, or 4 2/3, plus b. Subtract 4 2/3 both sides, and I get 4 1/3 is b. So now I know m is 1/3, b is 4 1/3, and so there's my equation, y equals 1/3 x plus 4 1/3. So your homework for tonight is to find the equations on page 11. If you glance through it pretty quick, you can see that there is a 0 in the x column on almost all of them. Number 5 doesn't have a 0 in the x column. Number 8 does not have a 0 in the x column. So 5 and 8 should probably be the trickiest ones. The rest of them should be pretty straightforward here. By the way, for number 5, I'll help you with that one a little bit. This one, even though it doesn't have a 0 in the x column, you could kind of complete the pattern to get one. Right here it's going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So I could put a 0 there if I wanted to. And here, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I'd be able to infer kind of the 0, comma 10 is also a point there. So that'll help you find the b value there on number 5. Alright, so try these problems for tonight. Hopefully you did well on last night's homework and on the page 9 entrance task. And we will check in with you guys again next week on Monday. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.